Lately, we have seen plenty of sneak peeks from the Axie Infinity team regarding what Axie Origin might look like. We have seen runes and charms, we have seen cards, and I mean plenty of cards, all back, mouth, horn, and tail cards have now been released. We are waiting for the eyes and ears, and all of those have these new mechanics, the banish, they have the retains. But what do they mean? How will they impact the mechanic of Axie Origin? Do we know what the mechanic of Axie Origin will actually look like? And although we can't be 100% sure that this is correct, as far as I'm concerned, this hasn't been confirmed by the team, but an Axie like this, which has cute bunny that applies fear for 4 turns, and then you have Sandal, which applies fear for 2 turns, and it deals additional damage if your opponent already had fear, makes me think that this is based on Slay the Spire, which is a game that has very similar mechanics. Now, Slay the Spire is a game that has been released on Steam a couple of years back. You can get it yourself. It costs about $12 or $15, and if you jump into the game, you do have a couple of game modes: the standard, the daily climb. And what do these game modes allow you? They allow you to choose a character. So once we select our character and we load into the game, we can see the map. That's not a big concern for us, but what I want to show you is the similarities that we see between this game and Axie Infinity Origin, potentially, right? In the top right, you have the potions, which could be the charms that you see on a particular Axie. Right here, we have the limit of 3 potions per character. So in Axie, you have 1 charm per card, right? Per part, actually. And here you have the relic, which, if you look at the card art and you put it side by side to the Axie Origin runes sneak peek that we have seen, you have a lot of similarity right there. And then you have the cards. Now, these cards can only be played in this turn, and then they go into your discard pile, and we have already seen the discard pile in Axie Origin card leaks. And we have also seen cards such as Tadpole that shuffle 1 Jinx into your opponent's discard pile. So that is a strong suggestion that it will have the same mechanic as Slay the Spire. Now, what happens with the discard pile? The discard pile is getting reshuffled back into the draw pile if your draw pile is empty. So if your opponent has shuffled a Jinx into your discard pile, you will be able to draw that, which can be a debuff of some sort, and if you draw it, it can do some damage into you. And then you have the draw pile, which will work the same way. Now, we don't know how many copies of each card you will have for your Axies, but it might be something similar to this. Now, these cards, you see that you have 3 energy every turn, and that will not increase. You just have 3 energy every turn, and it might be the same for Axie. Now, you get a couple of energy round 1, and then you get X amount of energy every round. And if we go ahead and attack this backlane, we can actually go ahead and kill it, and you see our energy going down. We can play the shield as well, and we have another card that is very similar to Nemo, which is a retain, and then it exhausts. So if it exhausts, it is removed until end of combat. You can't actually play this card anymore. And Nemo works in pretty much the same way. It has a draw 1 card, and then it banishes. So if it banishes, it is potentially going to just not exist until the end of the battle. So when we end our turn, all of these cards that I haven't used go back into the discard pile, and then I have 1 card left that had the retain, which means that it stays in my hand. And the same thing happens in another round. You play your cards same as you would with Axie Infinity, and once you play all of these cards, then you can actually go ahead and end your turn, and you see all of these cards that are not used go back to the discard pile. And once I'm out of cards in the draw pile, that discard will get reshuffled. So it will be very interesting to see what kind of teams we see in Axie Origin, right? Because that discard pile will have a lot of impact on the battle, especially when the battles are actually longer in Axie Origin than what they are in Battles V2 as we know it right now. And as you can see, after I've defeated this monster, I get 1 potion, which might be something referring to the charm, right? You can use it during the battle, but you can only use it once. And we have seen, and if we look at this screen right here from the Substack of Axie Infinity, we can see that these runes actually have quantities on them, which means that you might be able to use them once per battle, and then you have to replenish them using SLP potentially. So it works in a very, very similar way, and that's my take on it. And one more similarity that you can draw between this game and Axie Infinity Origin potentially is that in this game you heavily rely on your runes as well as your charms, which in this terms are potions and relics. Now the cards are really simple, as they are in Axie Infinity. Some of the cards have been simplified. They either have attack or they have shield, and they deal somewhat of the same damage, whether it's between 50 and 60 for the 1 energy cost, or it's around 100 for the 2 energy cost. And it's the same here. If you look at my deck, you see all of these cards just dealing a bunch of damage or gaining a bunch of block, and they sometimes have a debuff as well. Very simple cards, but what makes them exciting is the relics, it's the potions. You can see that this potion, I can use it and it will upgrade all of my cards in my hand, right? So all the cards that I'm currently holding right here, those will get upgraded, which means like this 9 damage will go up to 13 or 14, and that's how upgrades work. You can also apply vulnerable, which is the same effect that Axie Infinity, one of the Axie Infinity cards right now has, which is the Grandma's Fan. That applies a vulnerable as well, and vulnerable targets get 50% more damage from attacks, so we can do that as well. We could potentially go ahead and attack the one on the back. You can see that instead of dealing 9 damage, or instead of dealing 9 damage, we will deal 13 damage. That's how vulnerable works, and this target is actually stunned, so we only have to worry about this target attacking us, as it indicates that it will attack for a damage, so we can defend and then end our turn. So hopefully you see these similarities between Axie Origin, and if Axie Origin works in a way like Slay the Spire does, it should be very exciting in terms of creating teams for yourself, right? And because if you create a team very well, then you will increase your chances of winning, and there still will be an RNG factor, which is the discard pile, what kind of cards do you top deck and stuff like that. But what it will not have is the random crits, and you will have a lot more control over your game. So if you guys are interested in Slay the Spire, or you're interested in theory crafting for Axie Origin v3, make sure you join my Discord and we can talk about all that stuff in there. I also want to create a video about theory crafting, what kind of teams might be good in Axie Origin, so hopefully we can make that happen. Let me know in the comment section down below if you think that would be good, and as always, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel for daily playthrough content, and I will see you in the next one.